Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time on Doctor Who, we started the first 3 episodes of the Faceless Ones. What was that one about?
Well, it was very strange. It was apparently set in 1967. They land at Gatwick Airport in London, literally in the middle of the runway. They get chased down by the authorities, only to find out that there seems to be some kind of... We don't know if they're aliens or... I guess we did find out right at the very end of the 3rd episode. These aliens are abducting human beings and transferring their identities. Or we don't know if they're clones or if they're... Anyway, so we don't know where this is going. We spent a great deal of time going, where is this going? Because for the first time in a long time, we seriously have no idea where this one is headed.
Yeah. Like, the last scene, basically, was... They were taking... Because their disguise is that they're a touring company, basically. And they're taking young people around, like, Europe and stuff. But the last thing we see is a plane full of young people, and then they all just disappear on the plane. So we don't know if they need them to make doubles, or if the doubles were just to infiltrate the airport, or... We're really not sure. So,
and there was a clue about the flying time of the plane. Like, it only flew for like an hour and a half. So we were thinking it's maybe going... Well, we know that they flew to Rome and to Berlin. But, you know, where is this plane going where it can go and then return in such a short period of time? We didn't know if maybe they were landing in Iceland or in Scandinavia somewhere. So we have no idea.
Yeah. And Polly has sort of been... brainwashed into joining them, and so we have to deal with that. And Jamie is just having a hard time understanding the concept of an airport. Ben is just kind of there, and the Doctor is being stopped by bureaucracy. So yes. It's a whole thing, basically. It's a whole thing. But yeah, we don't know where this is going. This is a very challenging sort of mystery, which we don't normally get that on Doctor Who. Like, you know, sometimes we have some challenging moments maybe here and there, but yeah, this one's pretty confusing. Yeah. So
entertaining, very interesting, but seriously, we have no idea where this is going.
Yeah. And this time around, we will be watching all animated episodes because the rest of it just hasn't been found. So, also, I heard that for the Macra Terror, we watched it in black and white because I said, oh, well, people have been yelling at us to watch this in black and white. Then I got yelled at again because we did watch it in black and white. So, apparently, animations like the Macra Terror and the Faceless Ones, they were made to be in color, but then they were changed to be black and white, whereas something like Power of the Daleks was animated to be black and white, but then colored later. So... it's a whole different thing. I think I've got it down now. So
okay.
Yeah. And of course, the Faceless Ones, they only offer it in color. They don't offer a black and white. So hopefully we will get that down. Of course, next week we're back to Recon Town. So anyway. But yeah, that's basically it. We should go ahead and get into this episode of Doctor Who. Here we go.
Don't quite understand why we have usually a safe door in the pilot's cockpit there.
Doctor!
He's dead.
I don't think he is.
You're coming with me.
Don't look
I'll
up.
not leave him.
Nah.
5, 3...
Samantha!
Oh. Oh yeah, the Doctor had that button on his back that's knocked him out.
Very James Bondian.
Yeah.
But I can't move, Doctor!
Can I? Oh, wait a minute. I can move one arm, but I can't move away.
Why would you build such a slow machine to kill people?
Flying these young people to some secret airfield, but why?
You're still thinking in Earth terms,
And I intend to go on doing so. Well, what was it?
Hey, maybe I could go with you.
Hey, now you're talking. Do you think you can raise the lolly?
The lolly?
The brass. The money. Look, it'll cost you 28 quid. Pounds to you.
Oh, but that's a fortune. I've never seen that much money in my life. I suppose I couldn't
That's
take your...
back when you could live on, 16 pounds a year.
Look around when you hit a switch.
Don't those look like game controllers?
Well,
You get to those pads. Give them back to me and we'll post them for you in the morning. Have you found your ticket yet?
I don't know. I seem to have lost it somewhere. But
so
you
does
remember,
Jamie's
you
kilt
don't
have a
talk
pocket?
about you.
There's so many people.
I don't think so.
Are you alright?
Oh, I'll be all right.
Good.
Been there.
Yeah.
50-mile mark
Um,
passing now.
I didn't think about that.
It's just right down Alaska.
Up and away on their air corridor.
All set.
I guess the safe door is to make sure that they don't get
They're shrinking.
that.
Another airline again.
It's standing still.
Impossible.
The ship's stationary.
That can only mean one thing. It's crashing too.
Oh, no. Quite the opposite. It's going up.
That must have been some interesting special effects.
Well, interesting prop work.
Very interesting.
Okay. That is episode 4. Another episode without Ben and Polly. Yeah, this is starting to feel like we're about to ditch them. I didn't realize that Ben also got taken.
I don't remember, quite honestly.
Yeah, well, it doesn't help that Ben was not really a part of the last couple episodes,
Yeah.
so they've really dropped off, and Jamie's really taken the lead on that. So, well, I guess they're shrinking them?
That appeared to be what was happening because
Yeah.
they shrunk down out of the side of the window.
Yeah. So they're being shrunk, I guess, and then taken to this spaceship for some reason. We still don't know.
Still don't know. Now 4 episodes in and have no clue what the aliens are planning here, other than they are replacing Earth people, which means that seems like some sort of invasion or takeover, but there has literally been no clue as to exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I still think the doubles are really just so that they can infiltrate the airport, so they can slowly take control of it, you know? I'm not even sure if the doubles have anything to do with taking the youth, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess the good thing is Jamie is now... presumably Jamie was not shrunk because they don't have a shrinker in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So...
And the flight attendant, when she went back to check, she gave that glance down to where he should have been and realized that something was wrong.
Right. I wouldn't have even realized, like, oh yeah, Jamie has never been on a plane before. So that might do something to him, you know?
Yeah.
So, so that at least lucked out. Of course, the Doctor is not anywhere close to getting on that ship, so he would have to catch another flight.
Yeah. But wouldn't they recognize him? Wouldn't they not allow him on?
Yeah.
Unless he were able to stow away somehow in the cargo hold or something.
Of course, you'd think they'd recognize Jamie at this point, too. But, I don't know. It's all...
Still a mystery.
Yeah.
Now, aside from the fact that standard airplane engines cannot function in outer space, you would think that somebody at the airport would have noticed the design was different.
You know, sometimes I think they do the animated episodes on the episodes with the least amount of dialogue. Oof.
Oh, this is ridiculous.
We all have to help in this, Meadows. Roll up your sleeve.
Stop him!
Good
Get him in
job.
this chair. Keen Central, please.
Don't abandon the air traffic controls.
Yeah, someone stay on that.
What happens if I were to turn one of these?
Don't touch it.
Ah, I see.
Well, I'm definitely gonna do it now.
No, you mustn't find them.
Why not?
You mustn't, that's all.
Because if we do find them, we'll find one of these on their arms, eh? And if we remove it, something terrible will happen to you.
Yes.
What if you have to change back?
Well, that can be done, but with the machine. You'll never see those 50,000 young people again.
I think I better take him down there. The medical center.
Okay, so the doubles are connected. But why do they need to be doubles?
You can't go in there.
Would you rather be destroyed? Keep an eye on her, officer. Bring him along.
Well, these officers are helpful.
Sam!
Flippin' heck. But she's in there.
Well, at least the ray looks good in animation. Ooh,
Wow,
melted her.
that was quick. A puddle of goo.
It's all right, Sam. It's all right.
Wonder what that looked like in live action.
Did you not have anything to eat or drink?
No, I felt too ill.
Now that explains it. The food is the first part of the process.
Inspector, what is this place?
This time, he's up against a mind superior even to his.
Wow.
The mind of the director.
You mean someone cleverer than a doctor?
The man in charge of this whole mission.
You seem to know a lot about it, Inspector.
The director sounds
Of course
like
I do,
another
Jane.
Time Lord, honestly.
I am the director.
I'd love to see what the original makeup looked like.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too.
However, we got aboard that plane. Come on, don't let's be late.
Right, thank you. That was police.
Well, I like
They
this
said the
whole
passengers are on board at
operation
the
that's
convenience
going on.
Did they see if the doctor had got on board?
Yes, he was with Nurse Pinto. All the passengers are adults, and most of them have been identified as airport personnel.
Commandant, the comedian plane is requesting clearance for startup.
I almost feel like they're missing like some communication. Like, oh, they don't have cell phones. They're not going to be able to communicate with each other.
345, stand by for start temperature.
Although, I guess... Well, I don't know if the plane radio could get 150 miles back.
Yeah, radio. They were sending radio from the moon
Must be ascending.
in
Yeah, I guess that's
'69.
So,
Lips getting
well,
closer, sir.
My instructions don't apply to you. You two won't be needing living space.
all right, that's episode 5.
Well, we now know what's going on.
To an extent, we still don't fully know why they need to become these young people.
Yeah, that's true.
The only thing I could think is that perhaps, because they're... I don't know if it's that they naturally look like, the alien we see, or if that's some sort of, like, something's wrong with them also, but
Yeah.
it could be that maybe just their species can't survive anymore, so they need to be a different species in order to survive.
That could be, yeah, transferring their intelligence and memories and everything.
To a
into-
body that could work.
Yeah.
So, it's the only thing I could think. Again, we still don't have that, but we got a lot of answers in that one.
Yeah.
I gotta say, this one's really good, actually. Just the entire mystery of it all and how it's just all... It is all coming together, and yeah, I don't know. I almost feel like maybe there should be like another episode. Like, I don't know, like what are we gonna do next episode? Because it's not even just that. Oh, we have to find all the young people and get them out of here, and we have to defeat the aliens, and we have to probably destroy the satellite, and we have to find Ben and Polly too, wherever they are. So
Yeah, that's a lot to pack into a 30-minute episode.
yeah. And I was kind of thinking like, oh man, so back at Gatwick, they have to find all the originals and stuff, and it's like, okay, so they're going to find the originals. And I guess that, they said is like, well, that's the threat we can use, basically. The one bargaining chip is, let all these people go, or else, we basically kill all of you by destroying the originals. But I don't know, it almost feels like there isn't a way of communicating with Gatwick. But like you said, radio signals are good enough. The Doctor could probably communicate with them. Yeah. So I guess I was just thinking like, oh man, they don't have cell phones yet. How are they going to talk to each other, So
But see, that's the thing. This is what, 67?
Somewhere around there.
This is probably 67. Again, by July of 69, we put 2 men on the moon who were communicating by radio. So that's 280,000 miles, I think.
Yeah.
So if they're only 150 miles up, then they should be able to communicate at least by radio, if nothing else.
Yeah. Of course, there are some that would say, well, we put 2 men on the moon, but we couldn't film it. So, yeah, I've actually heard conspiracy theories like that, which it was just the funniest thing where it's like, someone who was like, no, I fully believe that we put 2 men on the moon. I just don't think we had the technology to film it and send that back to Earth. And it's like,
they took photographs and they did take some film. But they didn't have a broadcast film, but they took like 8mm films because we've seen those. Yeah, but I mean, I guess just when they broadcast, the first step on the moon. That's the part where people are like, oh well, I don't know. I think that part was faked. It's like, that's very specific. No. Yeah, it was a black and white. It was grainy. I remember I had just graduated from high school, and it took place where I was very late at night. It was either like 12:30 or 1:30 in the morning. But seriously, I think it was like 3/4 of the people on the planet stayed awake to watch Neil Armstrong walk on the moon.
Yeah. So it's always just funny just listening to conspiracy theories about that.
Of course, I may have told you this before because we drove through that. The time we went out to Arizona, by going south out of Albuquerque and then down to Las Cruces and then west out to Tucson, that area between Las Cruces, New Mexico and Tucson, Arizona, there's an actual county in western New Mexico called Luna County, and it's called that because it's literally as desolate as a moonscape. And most of the conspiracy theorists believe that the moon landing was shot there because that would be able to double as the moon and look very convincing.
Yeah. Stanley Kubrick. He was the one that filmed it, apparently. And The Shining was just his way of admitting that.
Uh-huh.
So, and there's some sort of allegory about Nazis in there. I don't know. Because it's a German typewriter, I think.
I've never seen The Shining.
Oh. Note to self, we should watch The Shining sometime.
No. Well,
I know that Stephen King hates that movie.
Here's the problem. And I know this will be heresy to many of our science fiction fans.
Ooh.
But I do not like 2001: A Space Odyssey either. I think it started off with a really good premise, and then, again, just the last 10 to 15 minutes, you go, wait a minute, this has very little to do. It seems to have very little to do with what the rest of the film was about. So, again, don't want to, cause people to come after us with, torches and pitchforks. But yeah, I never cared for 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I mean, they already did that after Power of the Daleks, so I mean, what's a little more heresy? So, go sharpen your pitchforks and come back. We'll be waiting. Anyway. Off topic of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, this episode is just really interesting. Just the whole operation of it.
And again, I'm also liking the way, considering that they're now in their 4th season.
Yeah.
That. Remember, back in that first season, like literally everything had to be filmed in order, and there were very few cuts and edits. This one is cutting back and forth. You got the plane, you got the satellite, you got the office, you got the warehouse, and it's like they're getting much better at being able to tell a convincing visual story because the technology, at least again for 1967, has improved, or their budget has improved considerably, so that they're able to make it much more, again, visually interesting and still able to hold the story together.
Yeah, so, and see, I don't remember, like, I think the 2 writers on this one are new writers.
Yeah,
so
I don't remember seeing those names before.
Yeah, so this is a good first impression, honestly. Yeah. And it is interesting that it was 2 people that wrote this one.
Yeah.
So.
And I suspect one of them must have had some knowledge of airports, because there's a lot of very precise airport air traffic control information and everything that's in this.
Yeah, that's true.
I checked with the medical center. You're both human. We want you intact.
Well, the doctor is
That's why I
not
like
human,
to come here.
but...
I want your brain.
You know, I hope when we get to the third Doctor, if there's a scene like that where it's like, oh, all these guns, he just starts, you know, whooping fools.
You wish to speak to me?
Oh, no, of course, it's not Jamie. You're a comedian.
Well, I don't think you've done a very good job on him.
Why not?
Well, you've lost his Scots accent in the process, so I much preferred the original.
If you're looking for your friend's original
I didn't
Doctor,
even
you
notice
won't
that.
find it in here.
Being suspended between one thing and another,
Oh,
so to
he's
speak.
got a screwdriver.
Sit down.
Oh, dear.
In the trunks, perhaps.
Oh.
Or if I recall correctly, they call it the boot.
So, is it that they have 50,000 cars in that parking lot? Oh, or they're just sitting in the back and nobody's
In
noticed.
the parking garage, yeah. Long-term parking. Smack him.
The percussionist is going nuts.
By the time they tell you that there's nothing wrong with it, you've all have disintegrated. Except, of course, the director.
Be quiet, this has nothing to do with you. You told me that all the originals were hidden, where they could not possibly be found until the life had been drained from them. Are you now telling me you are careless?
This is an interesting idea of turning them on each other.
Yeah.
They've all been miniaturized.
Then reverse the process.
I'm afraid that's impossible. The equipment for that is on our home planet.
He's lying. The planes themselves are the miniaturization chambers, and they work both ways.
Commandant, are you still there?
So they made a double of Jamie, but kept his kilt?
Have been successfully concluded.
Yeah, this is going to take a while to get 50,000 people.
Yeah, 25 at a
deminiaturized.
time.
Yeah.
You look like a soldier in a sentry box standing there. Sit down. That's all right. He's a friend.
How long have some of these people been gone?
Yeah. I mean, 25 at a time up. How long have they been doing
process
this?
personnel, including your 3 young friends aboard.
Ah, good.
Are you going with us, Doctor?
Yes, I'm going with Nurse Pinto.
I have this slight suspicion that Ben and Polly are about to get dodoed, because they still haven't shown them yet.
Yeah.
So long as you keep your side of the bargain, you may return to your planet unharmed. Perhaps your scientist will be able to find some way out of their dilemma.
You could help a little.
May be able to give me
Yeah.
1 or 2 ideas of my own.
Goodbye, Doctor, and thank you so much. Thank you, Commandant. Goodbye, Scotty. Goodbye, Samantha. Come along, Jamie. We must find Ben
call
and
him
Polly
Scotty?
and get to the
Yeah.
TARDIS.
Goodbye, Jamie.
Looks like a Vauxhall. Ugliest car in the world.
My thanks to the Commandant.
Hey, there they are.
Well, no monsters or Cybermen. All this, it's normal, I understand it.
Do you? What about chameleon tours?
Oh, yeah, that was different.
Oh, well, I'll be glad to get away from here. Can you not land us in a nice civilized place like 1750?
What's so uncivilized about 19...
July the 20th, to be precise.
What are you getting at?
Well, don't you see, Duchess? July the 20th, 1966 is when it all began. We're
the
back
exact
where it all
day.
started.
All right, then. Off you go. Now, go on. Ben can catch his ship and become an admiral, and you, Polly, you can look after Ben.
I will.
Well, we've got things to do. What things? Well, I didn't tell the others, but we've lost the TARDIS. We can't have done. It was outside. It's not there now. You mean somebody's stolen it? I don't know. But that's what we're going to find out. Come on.
Oh, that's a great place to end that.
It's like from Good Omens. We've lost the Antichrist.
Yeah. Moron lost the TARDIS. Okay. That was episode 6. At least Ben and Polly got a send-off.
And, for once, they added that one line that made all the difference. When the doctor said, I think your scientists might be able to find something, and I have a couple of ideas that might be able to help.
Yeah.
That's all you need. I mean, seriously, one line ties up all the loose ends.
I mean, probably as soon as he figured out, it's like, okay, so they're trying to, become humans so that their race can survive or something. He probably immediately got like 10 ideas. So just a quick, here, let me write these down. Try this. If it doesn't work, call me in the morning. So, alrighty.
Well, for all of our doubts from last week, it did wrap up nicely. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But again, talk about leaving us literally right up until the last episode to figure out what the heck was going on.
Yeah, which, I mean, good on it for keeping up that kind of mystery, you know? And especially in making it fit 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it probably would have been a little too crowded if it was 4. So, and just an interesting idea at the end, like, okay, so how are we going to end up, beating the bad guys? Well, you find the originals, which means you now have a threat on all of the faceless ones, basically. So then you just get them to turn on each other.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that the whole serial wasn't called The Chameleons.
Yeah.
Because we never did see them as faceless. I mean, they had the green aliens with the rather, somewhat fibrous plant-like looking faces. So the faceless ones, I mean, that's the one thing that you're just going, wait, what?
Yeah, and actually on the I guess the cover art basically for the animated episode, there's a shot of Polly, and she's like halfway between being human and being the original chameleon. That doesn't happen in this. So I don't know whoever drew the poster for this, but that is not quite accurate.
Yeah.
So it's also interesting that they did land Ben and Polly on the exact day that they left.
But didn't we kind of predict that?
Yeah.
That would be the best way to do it, is literally as they are taken off from the pub, they come back and go, hey, wait a minute. And because, I think this is 67, if this is their 4th season, so they've actually backdated it a year to get Ben and Polly back. So they obviously thought of that. That way they can get them back without any kind of repercussions. Because literally, if Ben had gone AWOL for a year and suddenly showed up, he'd be thrown in the brig.
Yeah. So he can finally catch that ship that he always talked about.
But the other thing, though, as we also said, the paradox there is if they return exactly at the moment that they left, what about the war machines? Is that whole episode still going to be fresh in everybody's minds?
Basically, unless, like, after they defeated the war machines, it was maybe like a day later that they left with the first Doctor. So it could be that. But yeah, it does make sense that this and the war machines were basically just happening at the same time, just at different places, I guess.
Is this the beginning of an attempt at continuity? Because we didn't do that with any of the Dalek serials. We haven't done that with the Cybermen. The Cybermen are redesigned the second time we saw them. The Daleks are all over the place. We never know where they're supposedly destroyed the first time we saw them. But here, we've actually written an episode to specifically get Ben and Polly back to where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, because Ian and Barbara didn't have that. They came back 2 years later.
Yeah, and I still want to know how they explain that.
Yeah.
Did they just say, "Oh, we decided to go on a long, around the world journey"? And
I think I don't remember if it was technically explained or if I'm just making something up, but I think it might have been like, oh, they were on like sabbatical for 2 years, basically.
But they didn't announce that they were going on sabbatical.
Just unexpectedly, they're gone.
Disappear in the middle of the term.
Yeah, and Susan's gone too.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Oh, I'm sure that probably in some of the. What are those things that we saw? The written ones.
The audio dramas?
Audio dramas. It's probably explained in an audio drama or a book somewhere what happened to them.
I know that I think there's an audio drama where Susan is in the Time War, which, is around the War Doctor and the 8th Doctor's time. And she actually does recruit Ian into the Time War for some reason. I'd be very curious how he's going to help. But yeah, so... anyway, now it's also interesting just that it's like, oh, we lost the TARDIS. Well, wait a second, I'm pretty sure we're supposed to be we need to be heading off, you know? It's like, I don't think the next one's going to be taking place, you know, in modern times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But
I don't know, maybe it's just a visual joke that when they find it, it's literally sitting in, like, a junkyard with a couple of other police boxes, and they have to figure out which one is his. But, I mean, just leaving it on, hey, we seem to have lost the TARDIS, it's like, what? They've never done that sort of thing before.
He also needs to be careful then if this is, you know, around the time of the War Machines, because the first Doctor's TARDIS is out there in London, you know, and at a point it's going to take off, but he needs to be careful he doesn't accidentally get into a past version of his own TARDIS. So, anyway. Okay.
Right, so what do we got here?
Well, we started off with the laser. The very incredibly slow James Bond laser that they had.
And again, of what are there, 25 James Bond films now, that has got to, in my opinion, the best moment in any James Bond film in Goldfinger, where Bond is strapped to the table and they literally got a laser coming up between his legs, and Connery says, you know, do you expect me to talk? And Auric Goldfinger turns to him and just says, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die. That has just got to be the absolute best moment in any James Bond film ever. And that's probably where they stole that. But yes, the first thing I was thinking is have they got some way to deflect it? Because a mirror would do that. And I thought, Polly's got her hand free. She can reach into her purse and stick the mirror out there. So
Samantha.
Yeah.
So
but yeah, that's the perfect way to do it, because oh no, you know, it's like what can we thwart this deadly laser with? Oh, got a pocket mirror.
Yeah. Well, that's just the other thing, too. It's like, you know, they put it at a specific distance, and it's like, yes, and it will kill one of them, because that was really only aimed at Jamie, but it's like, and it will do it very slowly, which will give them ample amount of time to try to figure out something to do. It's like, great job there. Great job.
They are learning from all those Earth supervillains.
Yeah. I at least assume with Bond, he was, like, strapped down.
Yes.
So that makes it a bit harder, so I don't know. And plus, Bond villains, I'm sure they want to be dramatic about it. So, let's see.
If you've never seen Goldfinger, there's a movie we need to see.
I think I've only watched the Daniel Craig Bond movies.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, you need to at least see one Sean Connery movie.
All right.
He is James Bond, just like William Hartnell is Doctor Who.
Ah. See, they don't have a plot device of how they can change actors. Yeah. So. Let's see. Well, we did have the controllers, which I guess literally were controllers. So, one on the original, which I guess sends data to the other controller to make sure that they keep their form. I don't really know how the science works, but it doesn't really matter. And if you get rid of the one on the original, then it just melts the chameleon, which is interesting.
And again, yes, I would have loved to have seen what that looked like in the original, not in the animation, because in the animation it only took like a second for them to, you know, dissolve into a pile of goo.
Yeah, which, I mean, I don't think they really, like, edit the audio too much. Like, I think it's pretty consistent with the original episodes, so that means it probably was that instant. So it must have been, like, some sort of fade, I guess, but then, like, okay, I'm trying to think, like, how you would do that. It's like, okay, you have the person there, then you do a transition, but I guess you must have just goo, and you have to, like, hang the clothes above and then just watch it melt. Maybe they do it like it's some sort of thing that they melt and they speed it up to look like that. I don't know. I'm really trying to figure out how they would do that with the effects that they have, you know? Let's see. We had Jamie on a plane, which I do feel kind of bad at the end when it's like, oh, well, Ben and Polly are going to go off. And it's like, oh, Jamie, you'll look after him. It's like, Jamie's going to be really confused from here on out. He doesn't have Ben and Polly to explain things to him. So
I love how he said, like, can't we get back to a nice time like the 1700s?
Yeah. Which, that's the thing, too. It's like, you know, we always have the thing of, like, oh, well, when a new companion comes on, they're sort of, you know, rowdy, and they have to be taught by the older companions how, you know, things go. And then those companions leave, so our new person then has to teach the other new person, and it just keeps going. So I'm very curious how Jamie is going to try to teach the next companion, presumably Victoria, just how all this works.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if he's fully figured it out yet. It's like, well, I've been to the moon. I don't know how, but I did. So
now, did you write down Alaska?
Well, not specifically, but
now, do you want to tell the story? Or do you want me to tell the story? It's just I can make it very short.
Okay. Well, the story is we went to Alaska at Christmas a long time ago.
This would have been 2007.
2007. Okay,
so you were like 10 years old.
Yeah, exactly 10, and that's weird actually, because I remember a lot from that trip, but I don't remember a lot of stuff in my life.
We took off from Oklahoma City and landed in Chicago.
Right.
But they hadn't fed us on the plane from Oklahoma City to Chicago.
Right. So I ate Chicago pizza, I think, was part of it.
The deep dish, very, very oily.
Yeah.
Lots of red sauce on it, pepperoni, because that was one of your favorite foods.
Yeah.
You just pounded down this rather large...
What Jon Stewart calls a soup, basically.
Yeah.
You know, and then I topped it off with gummy worms. Like a lot of gummy worms. Like how many gummy worms a kid would eat. And then...
We got on the plane to Anchorage.
Yes. And I think they were showing like Dragon Ball Evolution on the flight.
Yeah.
I think that was that flight. And the thing was, it was an overnight flight.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep. And I woke up feeling like the most garbage ever. And just all that Chicago grease and gummies just came up the other
airplane going up in the air, and it went everywhere.
Oh.
That was one of the, first of all, most hysterical but most disgusting things I've ever seen in my life. And fortunately, your mother was sitting with you. I was sitting with your brother, and your mother had to clean that up. But fortunately, again, the flight attendants came back and said, "Oh no, this happens all the time."
Yeah.
So they got it all taken away, and as far as I remember, you went back to sleep, and we finally arrived in Anchorage a couple hours later.
Yeah.
But just pizza and gummy worms coming up a second time.
Yeah. So.
But he was 10 years old, so it's perfectly excusable.
Yeah, just like it's excusable for Jamie, because the man hasn't been on a plane before.
Never been on a plane before, and even though he didn't eat anything, just that sensation of flying up in the air so quickly, that will do it. That'll cause your stomach to do flip-flops.
And not only that, but going up quickly and then keep going up to that satellite. So, yeah, poor Jamie. There's a lot he has to really get used to, so... but they also did say that part of the miniaturization was the food.
Yes.
Like, there was some sort of thing in there that starts the process, and then the entire plane is the miniaturization chamber. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it makes you wonder why the inspector, Crossland, was it? Cross, whatever his name is?
I think so.
Why he lied about it and said, you can only be reversed if we get back to our home planet.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he was bluffing, trying to stall, but surely he knew that that Captain Blade and the other guy would say, no, that's not true. We can redo it back there in the plane. So it just
I think he was just desperate to keep the plan going. Yeah. Let's see. So we had the 50,000 youths who were
Utes.
Yeah, the youths. I believe that's how Bernie Sanders says it. So they were going to be the doubles, basically. For some, I'm curious if we missed a line about why exactly they needed to become humans to survive.
Yeah. They didn't really explain that, but your explanation is that because they could not survive in their original form, they thought they would be able to survive in human form instead. So.
Yeah, which, I mean, I guess they did sort of say, like they'll have to return to their original form and not be humans anymore, and now they're going to have to just find a new way to survive. Yeah. So it could have just been that their bodies just aren't good anymore, and they need new ones.
The whole environmental thing. I mean, that's talk about going way off of topic here, but the when Adric killed off all the dinosaurs, the whole point there was the climate. I mean, it was just as simple as the climate of the Earth changed because of all the debris in the air. The larger dinosaurs could not deal with the cold weather, nor could many of those tropical plants, those prehistoric plants. And so it is the smaller animals, the mammals and the reptiles and some of the other smaller that were able to stay warmer during that time and who survived that time period and now, of course, have populated the Earth, whereas the dinosaurs died off. So it could have been as simple as that. And again, maybe we missed that, but because they never did actually say why, that I remember either. So it could be, not that there was a plague or anything, but it was simply that the conditions on their planet had changed and they would no longer be able to survive in that current form because of whatever.
Yeah, they did say there was some sort of huge explosion on their planet, which sort of forced them away. How they're going back to that planet, I'm not quite sure, but I don't know.
I'm trying to remember when this theory of the meteorite striking just off the coast of Mexico first became prominent, because I don't remember hearing about that when I was in either like junior high or high school. So that may be something from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, maybe. Which would make sense because the Fifth Doctor would be around the 80s. Yeah. So that episode works out. Let's see. We had the nurse and Meadows. That was just interesting, just having someone help explain things, first of all. So that was at least good. And just the entire process was interesting. It's like, okay, so you go in, and then they transfer the thing. You need the controllers. They don't fully say why. There's still a link to the originals. At one point, they did say it's like, well, they basically they hid away the originals at in the parking lot, basically. Not the greatest hiding place, by the way, but they hid them all there, and they said, well, they needed to be hidden until all their life energy is drained. So maybe it's like a continual process that eventually the originals would just be too far gone, and then even if you remove the controller, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So they didn't explicitly say that, but you could sort of theorize from that.
And again, if we had been watching this for 6 weeks instead of in 2 weeks like we did, I don't think we ever would have thought about that. It probably wouldn't have occurred to us.
Right. Let's see. I feel like they did sort of, I guess, like hype up the director a bit too much, because it's like, yeah, he has the entire plan and stuff, but when they say it's like, oh, his intelligence is even greater than the Doctor's, I didn't really get that, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. So I guess it was just them trying to, talk up their leader.
Now,
but
were they aware that the Doctor wasn't human? Because they did say it at one point, we have two humans here, when they talk about the Doctor and the nurse.
Well, at the very least, the director knew, because Jamie said that. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if the director told anyone else, but they probably just thought, oh well, Captain Blade and everyone was probably like, oh well, he's just a very clever human, basically. Still not as clever as us, though. Let's see. We had the whole thing of looking for the location of the originals, which that was interesting, just with the whole sort of period of we haven't found them, but we have to bluff that we have found them, and we have to sort of stall, basically. So I like that. And then, just the whole thing of like, yes, they were in their cars in the parking lot. Like, nobody would have seen
again,
that.
I would have thought that to hide them, they would have had to be in the trunk, because, again, in long-term parking, if you're going to be gone for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, nobody goes into that long-term parking area. I mean, the cars are there basically waiting for their owners to come back, so that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
But we saw that one guy sitting in the back seat of his car. I mean, anybody who had come in to get their car to, after their whatever their journey had been, come in, they could have seen that and said, hey, did you know there's a guy sitting in the back of his car here? So that was kind of sketchy, but again, not a huge plot point. Again,
right.
If we had not seen all of these right together, we might not have noticed that. Yeah.
And it could even be that maybe they had a specific parking lot that was like, just for the originals, and, no other actual passengers went to that one. So, could be. Let's see. They did say that they wanted the Doctor's intelligence, which I don't know. I feel like we haven't gotten a ton of that yet, of, playing up how brilliant the Doctor actually is. But I remember in like the Web of Fear, they mentioned that it's like, oh well, the great intelligence, he wants the Doctor's mind because, like, oh, well, he's so old and wise. Of course, this is the second Doctor we're on.
Yeah.
Wait till you get all the way through the regenerations. But it's like, even at this point, it's like, yes, his intelligence is so high. And of course, well, the first Doctor was always saying he was smarter than everyone else, so...
Just had a weird thought. Have any of the Doctor's companions not been Earth people? Or is that part of the charm, is that he always comes back to Earth and manages to pick up somebody?
I think later on, I think Adric is actually from, like... I don't know what it is. It's something like E-Space or something. And actually in Earthshock, there was a bit of conflict between Adric and the Doctor because Adric wanted to go back, but the TARDIS can't go there. It was an accident.
I seem to remember that.
Yeah, it was an accident that the TARDIS went there in the first place. But other than that, I'm not really sure. Not in the modern episodes. There, he basically sticks to humans. So,
and of course Susan, but that's beside the point. Yeah. So I was just wondering if there was ever, an alien.
Yeah.
Like Spock on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Sometimes. And of course, like we saw or heard technically in the Holy Terror when he had Frobisher.
Oh.
Yeah. The big talking penguin.
Yeah, the smart-ass penguin.
Yeah. A penguin detective from New Jersey. Space New Jersey. It's like New Jersey in space. So, let's see. Again, the whole turning Captain Blade on the director was very interesting because, it's like, okay, so all of the originals, or a lot of the originals are down in the parking lot, but a lot of the 50,000 youths, they miniaturize and take up. It's like, well, why wouldn't you just go ahead and take the other originals just on that plane? Just spare a couple seats or something. Like, that does seem kind of odd that they didn't think about that. It's like, oh yes, well, we're just going to leave those on Earth. Like, that's.
Well, again, I think that goes back to what you said about we've almost drained their life force, so we're not going to need them anymore.
Yeah, it could be at a point that connection would just sever itself, I guess. So,
like fully charging your electric automobile or something, you pull the plug and it's still going.
Yeah, and I guess because they also thought, well, nobody's gonna find the originals, just chilling out in a parking lot. So, let's see. And then just sort of the last couple things I wrote down are just, Ben and Polly. Ben and Polly, who were largely absent from this serial, but they did get their send-off at least. I was kind of worried because, they show the Doctor, he opens, a cabinet, and there's Jamie, opens another one, there's the Inspector, and it's like, okay, yes, now Ben and Polly cut to a different scene. And it's like, are they just going to be like, oh, yes, well, it's good that we found Ben and Polly, and, well, they just needed to head off. Like, I thought it was going to be another situation with Dodo.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, she's happy in the 60s, so she's going to stay there, and we're just writing her out of this episode now. So, but at least they got a proper send-off. Which is also...
wasn't very sentimental,
yeah.
He's going to be an admiral, and you can take care of him. I mean, come on. I mean, she deserved better than that, because she did way more in her tenure than Ben did.
Yeah. So, and you would also think, like, there'd be a bit more of, like, well, because these were the two companions that were there for him during his first regeneration, or granted, I guess they haven't planned all of that yet, so it's like, oh, well, they were there when he changed his face. But still, you'd think that would be a bit of a big thing. It's like, they helped him as he was rediscovering who he was. Yeah. So, yeah. So let's see. They showed up at the end of season 3, and they had a pretty decent tenure, honestly. So I think Jamie might be the longest running companion, actually. So we're not losing him anytime soon. So yeah. And then I guess just sort of the last thing, they just don't have the TARDIS, which is interesting. And I thought, we have seen, on the schedule next is the evil of the Daleks. So we're back around to them.
Oh boy, maybe they've stolen it.
That's what I was thinking, was that it's like, oh, well, we better go find the TARDIS. And then it cuts to like a screen, and then the Daleks are like, we have found the TARDIS. and then that would be the cliffhanger. Yeah. But no, it's just they just don't have the TARDIS. So it would be funny if like they for some reason like they go find it and it's like 3 police boxes in a row, and it's like I don't know which one it was. They try opening each one until eventually they find the TARDIS, which I guess they sort of did that in Celestial Toymaker, didn't they? They had like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's basically all I got. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, good episode.
Yeah.
Really good episode. Very interesting mystery. Very challenging too, which is a bit different from Doctor Who.
Yeah. A step up from the. Well, again, I'm not being derogatory, but it was marketed for young teenagers as a children's show, and this was definitely not for. I mean, yes, the children could have gone, "Ooh, look at the scaly aliens" or whatever, but this was way more of an adult one because again, we're adults, and it took us until the very end to try to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like the teenagers are watching Doctor Who, and maybe the next day they go to school, or whenever they would. I don't know when this aired, but they go to school. Maybe they talk about the episode. Oh yeah, the Cybermen on the moon, that was so crazy. But this one feels like the next day you go to school, you are all talking about this episode, trying to figure it out. So essentially, basically what we did, we just cut out the next day part. So. So yeah, this one was really, really good. Good first impression too for the new 2 writers. So, but yeah, next episode we're back to Recon Town,
and Daleks on top of that.
Daleks and Recons, and it's a 6-parter. And I think episode 2 is complete.
Do we know who the author is? Because whoever wrote the last couple didn't understand the Daleks the way we thought they should, so I'm just wondering who know the authors.
No, I don't know. I almost feel like it won't be Terry Nation, but I have no idea. We'll have to watch the episode to find out. Well. So, and then after that, we'll be back around to Tomb of the Cybermen.
Oh, isn't that like the beginning of season 5?
Yep.
All right.
So we are almost done with the 4th season already. But yeah, that is pretty much that. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Doctor Who classic reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.